for having me. My name is Jill Beck. I am from Allegheny County and I'm running for Pennsylvania Superior Court. Thank you. You guys are the greatest, really. I mean, I'm telling you, when I say every county counts, every Democrat counts, it's because of people like you. You know, if I show up, then you will support the people who are supporting you and vice versa, right? It just makes perfect sense to me. This isn't an electoral college situation, you know. Yes, I mean, certainly Allegheny County and Philadelphia just have a denser population of Democrats, but you can make up a lot of votes in the rest of the state. And there are 67 whole counties that each one of them have Democrats in. And so I assure you, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, I will never overlook a county ever. I will show up. You tell me to be there, I'll be there. I stood on Val's porch. We hung out for a little bit. We'll do that again. We'll do that when it's COVID safe, and we'll do it with lots of people.
Absolutely.
I'll be there, you know, and, you know, we did our count. Yes, the other day, we're at 47 counties so far. And I have more in the coming down the pipe. I'm going to Pike County actually on Friday and have an event there that one of my 21-year-old supporters has arranged for me. Like, it's awesome, you know. I'm so touched. So yeah.
How's the race going? What's the feel for you across the state?
I'm getting good feedback. You know, it's really hard to tell because you can't really poll in judicials because there's just such a low information race.
Correct.
I'm getting really good feedback. I'm getting really nice support in every county I'm going to. And we are, I mean, you know, having another Allegheny County opponent is not ideal, particularly with just one Philly opponent. You know, there's a concern about vote splitting there. But I've just, you know, as I've said, I've just sort of vowed to work harder and to get out more and to talk to more voters to the extent I can. So I have, my team is phone banking. My team is canvassing. If any of your folks want to phone bank for us, you know, they don't have to be in the county where they're calling. If they really want to, they could get a Google Voice number to make some of these calls. And my team will provide lists, they'll provide scripts, we'll provide whatever support we can. We're just trying to reach as many voters as possible, because it's interesting. Even this weekend, this weekend I was in Tioga, Bradford, Susquehanna, Monroe, and then I was in all the collar counties. And even canvassing in some of the collar counties, they had not heard of any of the candidates. They didn't know anything about anything. So, you know, there's a lot of ground that we can make up there. We just have to have the manpower to do it. So that's what I'm seeing.
That's one thing we were talking about last week, is that, you know, for many of us, we're so new to helping judges get elected. You know, for many of us hardcore Democrats, we, prior to really having an involvement with the local party, I personally was not paying attention to judicial races. I didn't understand until about 6 years ago the absolute importance of having good qualified judges on our benches. And, you know, it's, you know, I'm ashamed to admit that, but it's just honestly true that, you know, we really fail in educating our voters on a local level about just how important these races are. And I don't know how we do that, you know, particularly this year. It's, you know, of course we're in a extremely red county here, as you know, but the pandemic has really tied our hands as to how we can engage and have conversations with folks. So if you have any tips for what we can do to help get your message out other than Facebook and our website, I appreciate it. And maybe just speaking a little bit, if you can, while we're recording, speak a little bit to how electing you for a seat on the Superior Court will affect people like us on this call and listening. How does that personally affect us?
Sure. So starting with your first question, we're trying to make this as easy as possible for our supporters. So we are asking, we're trying to meet everybody where they are. If you are in a county where canvassing is working, great. We'll give you turf, we'll give you lists, we'll give you scripts, no problem. We just ask that everybody wear a mask when you go, but again, it's to your comfort level. If you want a phone bank, again, we'll give you lists, we'll give you scripts, even if it's just for an hour or if it's for 8 hours, we don't care. We will take whatever you can give and we'll train you. I have a field director who is phenomenal. I mean, I really didn't know. I mean, I knew how to do it from doing a little bit for Biden and Connor Lamb, but I didn't know the ins and outs of it. And he taught me in 2 minutes. He's really good and very, very understanding. If you would rather send emails to your contacts, we have draft emails put together that you can play with and do whatever you want, and we'll send those to you and you can get those out. The other thing we're asking supporters to do letters to the editor of local papers or area papers. And we have several of those drafted, again, that you can play with. We're not trying to put words in your mouth, but we're just giving you options and how they typically look, and you can send those on to your papers. For those, probably, sooner rather than later would be better. I can send those to you, Val. Election day stuff at your polling places. If people want to do that, that's great too. We will take that as well. It's really just trying to get to as many voters as possible, because in all likelihood, at least what I'm seeing, if you tell them my name, that is going to be the first Superior Court candidate they've ever heard of, because we can't mail to 67 counties. We certainly can't be on TV in 67 counties. It's just impossible. And so, I mean, the cost, I don't even want to talk about. It's terrible. But all that being said, you spreading the word, you being willing to reach out to your community, to your contacts, to your people, again, just putting my name out there, whether you want to say it as this is who I'm supporting, or whether you just want to say, hey, this is a person on the ballot, that's great. Whatever it is. And right now, of course, we're just worried about Democrats, but hopefully down the road, we can talk about some of your neighbors and that too. To answer your second question, why does the Superior Court matter? Why should we care about who's sitting in these seats? Completely valid question, because our judiciary is confusing. It's a lot of different courts. People, lawyers included, don't always know what court hears what kind of case. So starting at the top, we have our Supreme Court. Maria McLaughlin is running for Supreme Court. It is a 7-member court, and it hears, generally speaking, issues of first impression, cases that have really never been heard or decided in Pennsylvania, in cases of Pennsylvania constitutional importance. It does not hear every case that is decided by the courts below. Certain cases go straight up to the Supreme Court, including death penalty cases. Certain cases come up in different ways. When it comes to the Superior Court, which is the court I'm running for, it only hears appeals by discretion. So that means it grants permission to hear the case, and it makes the decision. It doesn't have to. So below the Supreme Court are 2 intermediate appellate courts: the Commonwealth Court, which you just heard from Amanda that she's running for, and that hears cases involving administrative agencies and systems like parole, workman's compensation, collective bargaining, things like that. And it also hears cases where the government is a party. So if somebody sues a municipality or the state or the governor or the police, that would be the court to hear those cases. The Superior Court hears appeals of criminal, civil, family, juvenile, and orphans court cases. These are the cases that affect most of us kind of day in and day out. It's deciding whether a criminal conviction should stand, questions of custody and property distribution after a divorce, questions of a will interpretation, so deciding your inheritance, contract disputes, so deciding whether you should get to keep your business or whether, property disputes, things like that, where there's allegations that somebody owes somebody else money. It's deciding juvenile cases, so cases involving kids, abuse and neglect, juvenile justice cases. And it's also deciding questions when somebody gets older and they're having mental competency problems, their memory might be going. There's cases involving who gets to control and make decisions for them. Those are called guardianship cases. So these are cases that most likely one of us is going to be involved in at some point, but people often think, well, why should I care? Because I'm not a criminal, I'm not going through a divorce, I'm not litigious. It's just these don't affect me. Well, they do, because in addition to deciding all those cases, it's interpreting our laws and our Constitution. And so something that maybe didn't impact you before could impact you after a Superior Court decision. And you remember I said that the Supreme Court only hears cases from the Superior Court by its discretion on allowance of appeal, but only grants allowance of appeal in about 2 to 3% of cases. So we're talking 97 to 98% of the decisions of the Superior Court are final. That is the last word on those cases. And so, of course, as Democrats, we care about fairness and equity and making sure that our neighbors and friends are protected, but also on a more selfish level, we care because these cases directly impact us, because they are determining the constitutionality of our laws and the interpretation of our laws. And those apply to you and me, even if we're not involved in the cases. And, you've heard me speak before, I've practiced in all the areas the Superior Court hears. I've tried over 1,400 cases in courts under the Superior Court's jurisdiction. I have practiced in the Superior Court itself, filing and defending appeals. And I spent 10 years on the other side of the bench in the Superior and Supreme Court chambers of Christine Donahue, where I drafted over 500 decisions of the kind of aside when elected to the court. One other thing I'll note, so there's a row of courts that sit below these are intermediate appellate courts, the Commonwealth Court and the Superior Court, and those are our courts of common pleas, our county courts. And I do often get asked why I'm not running for a county court position, because I think a lot of people see it as like a step. You go from the common pleas court, then you go for the Superior Court, then you go to the Supreme Court or whatever you might do. And there are certainly people who do that. I am not one, and I'm certainly not a trailblazer here. Lots of Superior Court judges have gone straight from practice, Christine Donahue being one, Deborah Todd being another. And I think we can all agree, as they now sit on our Supreme Court, that those are some pretty phenomenal jurists. Kate Ford Elliott actually took a very similar career path as I did. She was working for the courts, went into private practice, and then she ascended to the bench. And she served with distinction for about 40 years. But I'll also say this, and this is sort of the critical piece. I have nothing but respect for common pleas judges. They have an extraordinarily hard job in their own right. It's just a very different job from the Superior Court. So the common pleas judges hear cases that you might see on TV, right? These are, you see the people, the victims, the witnesses, the juries, the evidence, objection, answer. There's people in and out. It can be chaotic. Trust me when I tell you, it can be very chaotic. And, the judges are ruling on the law, but they rule in the moment. It's objection, answer, legal ruling. That's the bulk of the legal rulings that a common pleas judge make, because they do write opinions, but only when they're appealed, only when somebody says you got it wrong. The Superior Court, that's all they do. It's reading, research, and writing. There are no people. There's no new evidence. There's no new trial. There's no witnesses. There's certainly no juries. The attorneys will come up and argue in certain cases. In other cases, it's just the judges and paper. And in the chambers, somebody will review the record to make sure that everything was done correctly. They will research the law, and then they will write a decision. And the decision is not, oh, I would have done this differently, which I would admit, if that was the case, maybe a common pleas judge would be the best suited for that role. But it's not that. It's looking at the case from about 20,000 feet through a very narrow lens to decide, is it legally supportable? And that's a very different standard. You know, I might never have let witness X testify because I thought they were just totally full of it. You know, wow, couldn't be believed. But the trial judge found them to be credible, found them to be believable, and let them testify. So unless that's challenged in a way that would allow me to look at it differently, hands off. You know, that's a decision that was made below. Now I'm looking to see about the legal support for the decision that was reached. So there you go. Say this, if anyone has questions, please feel free to reach out. My website is jillbeck.com. My social media is all the same handle, elect Jill Beck. And my email is info@jillbeck.com. Thanks for having me. And thank you, Maria.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. I sure hope.
Me too. Me too. Keep me posted, Val. I'll come back anytime.